So this is my third attempt at trying to record this. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. I got shit I got to do, and I'm being lazy. YouTube keeps disconnecting. It's just like randomly disconnecting. I don't know why. So, anyways, I was on YouTube this morning, and I saw a guy post a video from that CultofDusty dude. And that's his YouTube name. It's just CultofDusty. And he's like a really popular atheist voice on YouTube or whatever. And, oh, wait, firstly, yes, you see, I'm wearing a cross. This is not because I'm Christian. This is because I like religious symbolism. As you can see, I have a Sanskrit tattoo here. I have another Sanskrit tattoo on the back of my neck. Religiously, if I could be described as any religion, I would say that anyone in their right mind who knows me would say that I am a pantheistic, or a pantheist with Hindu leanings, probably, or a Hindu with pantheistic leanings, either or. So this is not coming. I'm not making this video to try and debate anything that Dusty is saying regarding Christianity. But okay, I don't know how to articulate this. Basically, Dusty starts off in the video by talking about Django Unchained, the movie. And he starts off, you know, saying, Samuel L. Jackson, in my best CultofDusty voice, Samuel L. Jackson plays one of the most memorable characters that he's ever played. He plays a house Negro. Okay. Well, yeah, CultofDusty, you're right. He does. But then CultofDusty, Dusty, I'm going to call you Dusty. Hope you don't mind. Dusty, you go on to illustrate many points about how Christianity is the reason behind this slavery, and many verses in the Bible that sanction slavery and support slavery. That's all fine and dandy. But the fact is, Dusty, is that what you're doing is you're trying to take responsibility away from your white ancestors, okay? I'm Southern too, sweetheart. I'm Southern. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. We can understand each other. You know what I'm saying, Dusty? You got me? You locking in? You locking in, brother? All right, let's go. All right. What you're doing is you're effectively trying to take responsibility for the Atlantic slave trade out of the hands of your white ancestors and my white ancestors and put it on this imaginary sort of entity that is religion or Christianity. Pause! Making a video! Anyways. So, basically what you're trying to do is you are trying to take away the responsibility that we as white, currently, you and I, you and me, Dusty, you and me, back again, brother, it's you and me, eye to eye, you know what I'm saying? It's me and you. We're in this. Our ancestors are in this, Dusty. Our ancestors did this. Now, what you're doing is you're taking the responsibility away from us, currently, the responsibility that we have to acknowledge the evil that our ancestors did, and acknowledge the social repercussions that our actions had and still have in today's society when it comes to racial issues. You're trying to take all of that, you're trying to pull that blame away from us and put it on this imaginary entity that is religion. Religion really isn't anything tangible. It's just sort of this ideology, this sort of faint idea that we have about something that's higher than ourselves. And even though the Bible sanctions slavery and has a lot of pretty positive things to say about slavery, we can't blame the Atlantic slave trade on the Bible. That is sheer fucking idiocy, Dusty. You know it, and I know it. What you are doing is you are using slavery, and you're using slavery and the Atlantic slave trade to push your agenda that is anti-Christian. Now, I don't care about an anti-Christian agenda. I don't give a shit. But when you are trying to, when we live in a society where racial dynamics are as fucked up as they are, and it's on us to change it, because it's on white people to change this shit, because we're the ones that did it. Our ancestors are the ones that did it. We are the ones who need to take off our little racial rose-colored glasses, look at the situation for what it is, acknowledge the evil that our ancestors did, acknowledge the evil of the Atlantic slave trade, acknowledge the fact that the white man perfected the slave trade, and acknowledge the social repercussions that have come as a consequence of the actions of our ancestors. Now, to pull blame away from us, Dusty, and put it on some invisible religious religion as an entity is insanity to me. That is sheer ignorance, and fuck sheer ignorance. It's willful motherfucking stupidity, Dusty, to do this. And to shame Christianity for things that we already know. I mean, the Bible is an old book. It's archaic, so of course it condones archaic things. It doesn't take an atheist or someone well-versed in religion, a religious scholar, to know these things, Dusty. It's very apparent. It's even us, Dusty, me and you again, brother, eye to eye, even us with our simple southern minds can get it, all right? All right, now, what you have to do, Dusty, and what other white people have to do is, number one, stop fucking saying house Negro. Get fuck off. Number two, acknowledge the fact that Christianity really has nothing at all to do with slavery in the United States. It was probably used as a scapegoat, but the fact of the matter is that white folks wanted free labor. They don't give a shit. They didn't give a shit whether Jesus sanctioned it or not. The fact that an archaic book sanctioned slavery just made it easier for let's just say people who are pro-slavery. I was going to say pro-slavery Democrats, but we know that many Republicans own slaves, but towards the Emancipation Proclamation, the pro-slavery party was the Southern Democratic parties, and the Irish climbed up in ranks. The Irish effectively stepped on the backs of their enslaved African brethren to earn their title of white and become passable whites with all of the glitz and glamour that came with being a motherfucking cracker. So, it's not Christianity's slavery and it doesn't have a fucking thing to do with one another. I mean, let's look at, slavery and the slave trade's been going on for a long time. The Atlantic slave trade was one of the later slave trades. So many different ideologies and ways of thinking sanctioned slavery. Especially the more archaic you get, the more sort of weird and disgusting things we'll find. That's probably why there's more really weird shit in the Old Testament than there is in the New Testament. The New Testament is quite a bit newer than the Old Testament, hence the names, Dusty. Stop bullshitting. It's time for you, as a white person, Dusty, and me, as a white person, and white people all across America, to take responsibility for the actions of our ancestors. Be honest with ourselves, because the only way racial dynamics and the racial situation in this country is going to change is if we start being honest. And we're not, because we're too busy holding up a Bible yelling that slavery was the fault of some words in the Bible. It's a Bible. Who held the whip, Dusty? Who held the fucking whip? Your great-great-great-great-granddaddy held the motherfucking whip, Dusty. I'm going to tell you that, and I'm being real fucking honest with you right now, because I know my great-granddaddy held one. An imaginary entity can't hold a whip. A Bible can't hold a whip. A Bible can't put laws into place that disproportionately affect one part of the population negatively. It's people that did all those things. People, human beings. A white person held the whip. white people put laws into place that disproportionately affect blacks, and still, I say affect because they still do. After Jim Crow ended, after the Emancipation Proclamation, so after slavery ended, we had this thing called prisoner leasing, in which so long as a human being was a prisoner, they could still be leased out to other humans, aka they could still be enslaved so long as they were a prisoner. So this caused the South especially to put in place many laws that disproportionately negatively affected blacks, so that blacks would fill up our prison systems and thus continue to be a part of the slave trade. This has continued today in because we see that our laws still disproportionately affect blacks, and that blacks still make up the majority of people in prison because of the laws that disproportionately affect blacks in a negative way. A Bible can't do that. A Bible can't pass those laws and sign that bill. Human beings did that. So don't put blame on a Bible or a religion or some archaic ideology that sanctioned slavery. That's irresponsible, and quite honest, it's fucking idiotic. So be honest about the causes. Who was at fault for slavery? It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't Moses. It wasn't whomever wrote the Bible. The many collective authors, I believe they think it's maybe 40, who wrote the Bible. It's not their fault. The Bible can't hold a whip and whip anybody. The Bible didn't put anybody on an auction block. The Bible didn't shackle anybody together and throw them on a boat to survive the Middle Passage, only to shit them out onto the shores where they would be put on auction blocks, their names taken from them, their religion taken from them, everything taken from them. The Bible didn't do any of that. Jesus didn't do any of that. No intangible social concept did that, Dusty. White people did it. Our ancestors did it. It's really not that difficult to comprehend, but because you have this anti-Christian thing going on, and you're just, it gives you such, your dick gets so hard when you rail against Christians that you want to turn this horrible, horrible, horrible thing that our ancestors were responsible for into an agenda. You want to make it a part of your agenda against Christianity, and that's fucking sick. And that's fucked up. And you should be ashamed of yourself for that shit. I would think you were smarter. You're even wearing a Christopher Hitchens shirt. But have you read some of the shit that Hitchens says? Like, he says some of the most, under-the-table racist shit of anybody that I've ever heard. If you just, let's type in Hitchens racist in Google. The decline and fall of Christopher Hitchens, which highlights some of his racist comments. Dawkins Harris Hitchens talks about his racism. Christopher Hitchens on racism and ending looks like South African apartheid, I'm not sure. But basically you can see here that if you just type in Hitchens racist, you get tons of hits because he has said a lot of down low racist shit. I want to say Richard Dawkins has too. And a lot of people will argue against this, but I tend to be one of the people that stand on the side of the argument that I believe that white people by nature are racist, because it has been taught to us generation after generation after generation. After thousands and thousands of years of having power and privilege, I do think that has an effect on our psyche collectively as a people. But we know that Richard Dawkins has said some pretty questionable shit regarding race, and Christopher Hitchens, same, so I don't know what I know what you're trying to get at, Dusty. I know what you're trying to get at, but you're doing a bad job of it. And the fact that you have taken slavery and tried to turn it into this anti-Christian thing and made it, you know, your own little agenda is that's frightening. You should work for Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or one of the many, you know, machines we have churning out bullshit on a daily basis and shoving it down our throats, because that's exactly what you're doing here.